Howdy. This is my third attempt to record this, so hopefully third time's a charm. This is going to be grunt and grind. You're going to have to pay attention. You're going to have to do cut and paste. You're going to have to say, why am I doing this? Well, because this is how we do risk assessments. So for this particular video, I'm going to show you how I do a risk assessment based on the NIST family of controls. I'm going to share with you a working copy document of a consulting job I did. There's going to be some things that we don't discuss now. We're going to introduce this slowly. I think I've scrubbed everything out so I don't betray my client. And then we're going to start talking about how the risk assessment ties into your security policy and your step-by-step procedures. So let's start by looking at the family of controls. So this should be familiar with you that there are these number of controls that we're going to use when we do our risk assessment. And I picked one, physical and environmental protection, for this demonstration. And we'll wait while the NIST website responds. And here is all the controls. Now, we talk about data criticality, low, moderate, high. What you should realize looking at this is for the first PE1, this particular control, which if I click on this, will bring up the description. But before I do that, there's a priority set. So P1 trumps P2, trumps P3. And for the low, moderate, or high criticality, it does not matter. You implement this control fully. Same for P2. P3 has something interesting because it has a 1 after it, which means there's a control enhancement. So in addition to PE3, you also do PE3 1, as you would do here, PE6, 1, and 4, and the like. So low, moderate, high. So for instance, for this, for low criticality, we don't have to implement a control. For monitoring physical access, we don't have to implement a control. Visitor control doesn't exist at all. Well, wow, why do they have it here? You'll also notice that information leakage and asset monitoring tracking. These are older controls that have been subsumed into other controls. So visitor control, for instance, has been subsumed into PE6, but you never reuse the control number because these risk assessments get updated, so you want to keep the numbers consistent. Always, 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 regardless of your family, access control, media protection, personnel security, physical environment, that whole list over there, number one is always going to be policy and procedures. And the control looks like this. This is the control description. The organization develops, documents, and disseminates to, the brackets is something you fill in. Organization defined personnel or roles. A physical and environmental protection policy that addresses scope, purpose, scope, etc. Procedures to facilitate this, reviews and updates the current, and then look at B1 and 2. Again, physical, so B, so the organization does A and B. A has 2 parts, B has 2 parts. B, reviews and updates the current physical and environmental protection policy, and in brackets, how frequently, and the procedures in brackets, how frequently. Typically, we use 3 years for policy, 1 year for procedures. However, this is, anything in brackets is for your enterprise that you're building this risk assessment for. And also, you won't want to use anything longer than 3 and 1. The supplemental advice would be, gee, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do, so it's going to tell you this, and it's going to give you some words that you might want to put in, applicable federal laws, executive orders, directive, when you define your control. There's no control enhancements. It's related to PM6. Okay, let's take a look at that. PM6 is your risk management strategy, program management. Program management is one family we're not going to talk about here. We're going to concentrate on 5 or 6 of these, but it's good to know that you've got that. And oh, by the way, if you want references, here's a link to SP 812 and SP 800-100. Okay, so let me show you how I implement this then. I go to my Word document. Where is it? Not that one, but my other Word document. Which apparently I forgot to open. Oh, there it is. And so basically, I copy verbatim what that control description is. I put in this form. Do you notice I have parameters here for B1 and B2? Goes back to B1 and B2 in my control description. There's actually a piece missing here from the template. I'll show you next in a minute. And then I do part A, and I say, tell in free text what I write. How are you going to do this? So part A goes back to part A here. If anything needs to be done for 1 and 2, it will be listed. And part B. That description needs to completely cover how the control is implemented. And don't worry right now, I've posted this, don't worry about the SO and the ISO and this. We'll talk about that. Those are just roles. SO is system owner. ISO is your system security, your information system security officer. But that's how we're going to do it. But the problem is, the task, as Mike makes it grunt and grind, is we have to do this for all the selected controls. Remember our risk management framework? You select your controls, you implement your controls. Well, this is part A of implementing your controls. You define this, and from this you're going to define your procedures. Let's look at another one, PE2. So if I went back to my online and said, okay, I want to go physical access authorization. I have to implement the control, whether it is low, moderate, or high. I click on it. Here's the control description. Develops, approves, and maintains a list of individuals with authorized access to the facility, issues authorization credentials, reviews the access list detailing authorized facility, removes individuals from the facility access list when access is no longer required. Okay? And unsurprisingly, it is related to PE3 and PE4, controls in the PE family, but also PS3. And PS3 is personal security. And we will see what PS3 is when we get there, because that's the one we're going to work on next. Now, here's your control enhancements. If required, 1, 2, and 3, which means additional that you do. Your supplemental guidance, of course, your control enhancements, and there are no references for this one. Okay? But it's related to the next two. And PS, let's just take a minute and look and see what PS3 is. PS3 is personnel screening. Okay? How you screen personnel prior to authorizing access. So that makes sense. Now let's go back to our PE. And this said it was related to 3 and 4, so we go back to 3 and 4. And 3 and 4 is physical access control, and you see there's an enhancement there. And also access control for transition medium, PE4. So the authorizations are related to these two. So look how many we would have to do and what the whole thing is going to be. We have our policy and procedures, always number 1. Our access authorization and control, we go down, we monitor it. We have visitor access records. I think I said PE7 was incorporated in PE6. I meant PE8. We have power equipment and cabling. Well, wait a minute, why do we have that? Well, this is PE, physical and environment. Emergency shutoff, emergency power, emergency lighting, fire protection, temperature and humidity controls, water damage, alternative work site, and location of information system components. Now let's go back to my document that I was getting paid to develop some years back. Here's a little consulting tip. What I do is, even though this is right up here, this part is right up here, and it comes right off the control, I always cut and paste it, you'll see my name there, into a comment, so as I write it, I can check this. And then my reviewer, who I've just renamed as author, would ask questions. Where's the access list stored and everything? Okay? So the system owner, the SO, maintains a list of personnel. This particular organization defines system owner as the ultimate person who had control because he basically owned the data in that system. So PE2 had A, B, C, D. Well, look what I wrote. I wrote part 1, part A, part B, part C, part D. Now I've called through this, I did a global replace and called this the system. So when you say system, that's what I renamed the company system. And if you'll also see, I put here a continuous monitoring control review spreadsheet. We actually developed another template to use, which I will show you later. So here's how I do it. Again, I keep the comment, and it says, how is it implemented? Here's I've cut and pasted it. I have this defined, and as I work through this with my partner, sometimes I've put things in red, questioning it, that this is just my little code. Sometimes I put things in. Sometimes I'm questioning what happens to the videos and the like. So I'm not going to walk through this anymore. I want you to walk through this, but I want to show you how I got that template. I did not create it by hand. I went to the template FedRAMP. This is the SSP, the System Security Plan. I went on for this class and picked the high one. So if you take this and you downloaded it, and by the way, look at FedRAMP. This was updated as recently as August 28th of this year. And here, look, it has your whole everything you need. If you look here at the navigation bar, right, it's going to be, now listen to what I'm saying. FedRAMP is for cloud service. However, I say use these templates for everything. So you could take out that cloud service provider name. You could take this out. Hey, I'm not doing this. I'm doing just an information system, right? There's very few questions in here that pertain to cloud, all right? It walks you through how to fill out this template. You want to have documentation configuration control, so who prepared it by, who's it prepared for, and a template revision. So you'll see here they did this here. Hey, in 6/20/2016, they did the original pub. In 10/21/2016, they did all this, so on and so on. And 8/28/2018, look at this. They revised controls for language consistency, updated Section 2.3 and T, attached guidance to SA9, updated requirements on RA5. Well, they're telling you the revision history of the template. You will have the revision history for your SSP. So you'll say maybe, what's today, 9/18 or whatever it is, 2018, original publication. Then it went for review, 10/21/2018, finished initial review, updated this and this and this and this, and so on. You are going to keep your revision history, okay? You're going to have questions about this. Take this out. You can take all this out, right? If you don't need to know the FedRAMP thing, then you know what? Bam, it's gone, right? Now, then it gives you this instruction, and basically it's giving you a template. You're gonna put stuff in, and you're gonna take stuff out. One of the things you're gonna take out is like the cookbook stuff. But here's what it tells you: the System Security Plan is the main document in which the cloud service provider describes all the security controls. Well, you could say in which the enterprise describes all the security controls, right? So we're going to take this And let's say, well, all right, let me see what else is on this navigation panel. Oh, look, it's got a place for me to put all the laws and regulations in a nice, easy to read table. Here's the laws, here's the standards, right? Then it's going to tell me, wow, look at this. It tells me all the system controls here and says what has been selected and not selected. And it's going to then walk me through each of these because it's created the template. So guess what? No more cut and pasting. Here's what you saw in my work. This I had done all by hand. And you saw the control information summary. If the control is implemented, partially implemented, planned, the like, the responsible role, who's responsible, what the parameters are. So you go back to AC-1A and say it's wanting a number. Okay, that's this. That's what's in the brackets. The organization defined personnel or roles. B1 right here, that's the 3 years. Excuse me. Oh, they made it at least annually. I completely apologize. This is great. Now they're saying to do both of them annually. That's a change from my last consulting, which was a couple of years ago. So your B1 and B2 down here is going to be annually. Let me just put these in and make sure you understand what I'm saying. Develops, documents, and demonstrates to all personnel, staff, consultants, etc., whatever you want to put. Don't put etc. listed, okay? And then let's say I've implemented that control. I've done this and I've implemented it. Or I've planned this control. Now, I want you guys to realize these templates I've just started using these templates. Previously, I had my students come up with these templates. So you now have a much easier way to do it, courtesy of FedRAMP. And again, I cannot say this, overemphasize this. You don't have to be doing cloud services. Take the reference out. The NIST control structure is the same. Okay? So right now, look, all of this is here. Fill in the blank. And then here's where you have to write the verbiage that if you go back to mine, was this type of stuff. So how is it implemented? And this has to reflect back on what is really in the organization. So this is the one thing you have to write. Okay? So let me see if I've forgotten anything. I've shown you the FedRAMP templates and where you can get it. I have told you that there are other templates I came up with and used. I've shown you how we do this. I think we've got it. Okay? So here's what I did that you can go check. I've shown you this. And that ends this lecture. I will be back with more information, but keep working.